So we'll start with the definition. Content marketing involves the creation and sharing of online materials such as videos, blogs, and social media posts that does not explicitly promote a brand, but intended to stimulate interest in its products or services. So rather than telling everybody, this is who I am and this is what I do, you're sharing content, sharing your information, your knowledge about what you do with people in a way that may help them and make them more interested in your brand, and kind of present yourself as a thought leader in the field. There are lots of good reasons for it. Examples of the types of content marketing you'll see out there, and anybody who's on the internet these days is going to come across this sort of thing. Any kind of blogs, newsletters, videos, podcasts, downloadable guides or white papers that you put on your website, infographics. Social media is obviously the most common type of content marketing that people use. If you see articles out there, like for instance, 5 awesome ways to increase blog traffic through competitor research, and like 3 ways to do this, the 5 best things about that. Typically, those are pieces of content that were created specifically as a form of marketing. And they're not bad, it's still good information. I read stuff like that. I mean, if I find something, 5 awesome new SEO techniques for your website, I know that it was created as marketing, but it's still useful information that people put some effort into, and I'll read it. And that's kind of the point of content marketing, is rather than interrupting people as they're searching for content on the web, you're actually providing the content that they're searching for. It's a very different kind of approach to marketing, but it's something that's become very, very popular. And I have some numbers in here later showing why it's become so popular and people are dedicating more of their resources to it. Why do I think it's a good thing for people? First, there's no cost to create new content. You can pay other people to do it. You can pay money to promote it. But in general, it's something you can get started with no cost at all. Just invest some of your time and your knowledge, your understanding of what you do to come up with some good ideas and some good content. It creates a more positive sentiment towards your brand than traditional marketing. Traditional marketing is not necessarily going to turn people off and make them think badly of your brand, but it's not going to give them any positive feelings necessarily. If you actually provide somebody with an interesting article, something that they even feel like, well, I could share this with my friends and stuff, and they see that it came from such and such company or such and such person, the next time they see something from that company or from that person, they're just going to have a much more positive attitude toward them. It can make new customers more comfortable and existing customers more loyal. So there are reasons to use content marketing to attract new business, but it's also good for the people that have already done business with you. It gives them a sense of, I guess, a sense of comfort that they're dealing with somebody who knows what they're talking about and is providing good, useful information and not trying to make money off of everything that they do. And another very good reason it can improve SEO or search engine optimization. A couple of reasons for that, depending on how you do it. If you have a blog on your website, for instance, and it's actually at your URL where people go to visit your website, that just having new, fresh content added there regularly that Google can index, that is always going to help with your search engine ranking. More content is always better. Another reason, though, is as you're sharing stuff around the web, whether it's in social media or on a forum or whatever the case may be, YouTube, you're sharing a link back to your website as well. And those backlinks is really, that's the #1 ranking factor that Google is being used to determine your search engine ranking. Other than traffic, traffic is the #1 factor, but you can't do anything about the traffic that your site gets until you start getting more traffic. But one thing you can control is the number of places that your link appears on other people's websites, and putting them on sites with good domain authority, reputable websites, linking back to your site is something that Google sees as an indication that this is a site that people are interested in, and I'm going to rank them higher than places that have fewer backlinks, basically. So that's another good reason for it. This is just a graph that indicates the success rate of the types of content that people are putting out there. This was for business to business specifically. So if you're doing a business to customer type of sales, it's probably not 100% accurate, but it's that trend is going to be basically the same. The #1 most effective type of content as far as getting a engagement rate, which would be whether it's shared by somebody, or whether somebody else sends it to someone, or if somebody clicks on a link to visit your site, perform some sort of action from your content. Case studies is the #1. Case studies are great because it's just a story, basically a narrative about somebody who had a successful venture using your product or your service, And it's semi-promotional because it mentions your product or service, but the purpose of what you're actually telling is the story of the customer and what they did and how they benefited as they improved what they're doing. Not everybody has case studies. The things that you'll see all over the place, the 5 good ways of and 3 best things about, would be how-to guides and best practices. I kind of lump those together. How-to guides are more like, how to lay vinyl plank flooring in my house, or how to change the alternator on a 2006 Corolla. Those are if you go to YouTube, for instance, has very good numbers on this. That's by far the #1 type of content that people search for on YouTube, is how to do something. I do it myself all the time, actually. Anytime I have a car repair, I just immediately go to YouTube and see, is this something I can do myself? And more often than not, yeah. And you can just do it yourself, and you don't have to go to a mechanic, and it's great. Best practices, that would be along those lines. How to would be along the lines of, if you're going to change your alternator, it's best to use a Delco alternator rather than Duracraft or whatever. Not necessarily how to do it, but why you would choose one over the other, or why you would do something a certain way. That type of content is very, very popular, very successful, and that's the sort of thing that pretty much anybody can do. I have in here a couple of walkthroughs, a couple of examples of made-up fictional small business owners and the way that they created content in my imagination and how it worked for them, to kind of give you guys an example of what I'm talking about. I've included inbound marketing in here because if you're going to be doing some research on your own and you're coming across stuff that refers to inbound marketing, that's what we're talking about. Content marketing is kind of a subset of inbound marketing. It's the term was actually invented by HubSpot, which is a marketing automation platform. And it's basically a technique for drawing customers to products and services via content marketing, social media marketing, search engine optimization, and branding. It's where you're doing things that are going to make people come to you because they are interested in something that you provided to them, rather than because you're saying, hey, we have good stuff, come and see it. Like, here's the thing that is good. You already like that. Come to us because you want to find more of that. It's a concept that's really become very popular. If you do some research on or want to do some research, I provided a few links over here. All of this, again, by the way, and you know what? Hold on a moment. I'm not sharing my screen right now, so this video is just recording the video and not the actual presentation. These sites over here are places, they're actually all paid services that have marketing platforms for you. But because they believe in inbound marketing and content marketing, what they do is they constantly create blog posts and articles about this stuff. So they have all kinds of free information to read. So if you want to do some research independently, I definitely would recommend those 4 companies. They do a good job with it, and also provide a lot of statistics about what works and why it works and where to do things certain ways. First walkthrough I'm going to provide here as an example of what I mean by content marketing and how it would work for a small business who's not going to be spending a lot of money, who doesn't have a lot of money to spend either to create the content or to promote it. In this instance, Dan from Dan's TV Repair, let's say he writes a paper on the differences between an LED and plasma TV sets. It's just an explanation, and it's a white paper he makes available that just explains what he knows about those different types of technologies and the comparisons and contrasts between them. And he makes the paper available for you to download on his website for free. All you have to do is just provide your email address. If you're interested in reading this paper, give him your email address and you can download it and have it forever, share it with all your friends. So since that's happened and he created that one piece of content, Dan can now pull excerpts from that paper to create smaller articles, blog posts that will link to it, like 5 ways LED TVs are better than plasma, or 3 reasons why I will never buy a plasma TV. So rather than having to create new content, he's taken one piece of content and excerpted from that these smaller pieces of content that he can now make blog posts out of or blog articles out of. Then Dan could use those blog articles to create social media posts. For instance, the 5 ways LED TVs are better than plasma can be 5 separate social media posts on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram that you can spread out over a week or 2 weeks. The 3 reasons blog post can be 3 separate posts. All of those things link back to his blog. If his blog's on his website, they're all bringing traffic back to his website. So now that one piece of content became 2 different blog posts, 8 different social media posts. He's got content that he can now promote over the course of 2 or 3 weeks just because he wrote one paper. He sat down, took the time to write one paper on a topic, and now is taking from that smaller portions that he can kind of sprinkle out over the internet to bring traffic or attention back to his brand and his website. The content that Dan has created, it can be used and reused forever, as long as it's still relevant. So 20 years from now, if it's still relevant to compare LED TVs to plasma TVs, which honestly, I don't know anything about this. It may not be relevant now, to be honest with you. But assuming it is relevant now, and it is relevant 20 years from now still, he can still create new blog posts from it, create new social media posts from it. That content that he put the time in creating today can be reused forever to keep drawing attention back to himself and to his brand. So to kind of encapsulate what the benefits that Dan has received from this, Dan has now gotten his brand in front of several new people in a positive, non-intrusive way. He's presented himself as a thought leader, somebody who actually knows about the differences between LED TVs and plasma TVs. So if you've got somebody out there who, for whatever reason, read one of his articles because they were out shopping for a TV one day, and now they're having problems with their TV and they need a TV repairman, well, Dan's going to be somebody that's at the top of their mind. Was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. In fact, he's the one that got me to buy this TV in the first place because I read that blog post he wrote 3 years ago. So you're kind of building this good sentiment and a good relationship with people that, even if they're not customers today, may become customers in the future. He's attracted several new website visitors. So that's always good. Obviously, it's going to help you not only increase the potential to get new customers, but it also helps with your search engine optimization. As I said, the #1 ranking factor for a website is the amount of traffic that it currently gets. Anytime you get more traffic to your site, you're helping yourself get more traffic in the future because you're more appealing to the search engines now. And he's also, in this case, created an email list that he can use for additional marketing in the future, more traditional marketing, like a regular email campaign. He could send out promotions, send out if he's got a sale going on, or if he has new content that he's put out, he can send out an email blast to the people that have already downloaded his last paper to let them know about that as well. All of those things came from just the fact that he wrote that one paper comparing LED TVs to plasma TVs. Another example, I've got Emma here from Emma's Pet Grooming. She makes a short video about the proper way to trim a dog's toenails. She posts the video to her YouTube channel where it can be freely watched by anyone, and she embeds that video on a page on her website. In the same way that Dan did, she can also share the video on her Facebook page. She can post links to it on other social sites like Twitter, and rather than directing users to YouTube, when she does share it, she can link them directly to her website where she has the video embedded. So again, attracting more visitors to her website. She can take that content that was included in the video about trimming dog toenails and make a couple of blog posts, blog articles out of it. For instance, 5 dangers of cutting your dog's nails too short, or the 5 best dog nail clippers on the market. Assuming those were things that were included in her video, or things that she talked about in the video, she could easily just transcribe what she was talking about in the video, make a couple of blog articles out of that. In the same kind of way, now those blog posts can become multiple social media posts that can be spread out over the course of the next week, 2 weeks on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever sort of sites you like to use. All of them, I recommend as many as possible. I mean, I don't do social media really well, but I do see the value in it. If you don't do Facebook, if you don't do Twitter, you don't do LinkedIn with your company, it's highly recommended. For one thing, you get the backlink, just creating a profile on those sites, highly trafficked, highly reputable sites that now has a link back to your website. That's going to be a ranking factor that Google takes into account. Those backlinks are very important, especially from highly trafficked sites like that. So even if you just create a profile there and don't ever use it, I still recommend it. But I also would recommend using it as much as possible. And this is a good way to give yourself some social media content. And you made that video about trimming dogs' toenails. You made those blog posts about it. Now you can take those blog articles, the 5 dangers of cutting your dog's toenails too short. Again, that can be 5 separate posts on Twitter or Facebook that spread out over a week or 2 weeks. The 5 best dog nail clippers, same thing, spread it out over a week, 2 weeks. Each one of those points can be its own post, links back to the blog, links back to your web page that has the video on it, whatever the case may be, the original content that everything is coming from. Everything links back to that, back to your website, to your brand. Now, the content that Emma has created can be used and reused forever, just like Dan's content, so as long as it's still relevant. In this case, this is going to be relevant for a very long time, as long as people have dogs as pets. So 20 years from now, she can revisit that video, maybe even make a new version of it, or take the content, the same content, and make new blog articles, make new social media posts from those. There's always a different way of rephrasing things. And then, honestly, if 20 years have gone by, just do exactly the same thing, because nobody's going to remember that 20 years ago you did that. They just put the same blog articles out, make the same social media posts. I mean, 3 or 4 weeks from now, I would recommend tweaking the language a little bit, maybe putting a different perspective on it so that you're not just spamming social media. But as time goes by, that content that you create today can always be reused and repurposed in different ways. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is that it is something that it takes a little work down. You don't get a huge immediate return from it, but the time that you put into creating content, creating useful, valuable content that people can get some sort of benefit from, that content's always going to exist. It can always be used, and it's always an opportunity for you. If you need some new thing to put on Twitter, you need some new thing to add to your blog, you can always go back to these pieces of content and see if you can pull something from there without having to create something from scratch all the time. I managed a software company's marketing department for a while, about 4 years, and that's one thing that I would do. I had so many different things that I had to manage, and we had multiple brands and multiple websites, and I'm trying to keep up with social media, and it's never been something I'm super good at. And when it came time again, I haven't been putting things on Twitter, I've been putting things on LinkedIn. That's exactly what I would do, is go back and look through our old newsletters, look through the old blog articles I wrote, and just find some simple little snippet I could throw up on Twitter all of a sudden, and throw up on Facebook. Those things get shared, they get liked occasionally, you get new followers, you get new visitors back to the website, and it really does make a difference. I mean, it's a trickle at times, especially at first, but over time, that trickle gets bigger and bigger, and more people come, and you aren't doing anything more but just reusing what you've already done, the work you've already done. So it is really valuable in that way. In the same way, Emma has now, because she made this one video, she's gotten her brand in front of several new people in a positive, non-intrusive way, in a helpful way even. She's presented herself as a thought leader in the dog grooming industry, something you can trust your dog with in case you ever have a need for that in the future. She has attracted several new website visitors, which again is always good. And she created a YouTube channel that can attract more subscribers. That YouTube channel that exists now, if somebody goes onto YouTube and searches for tips on dog grooming or trimming dog toenails, her video could come up at any time. Some new person who'd never heard of her, that she didn't promote it or didn't show it to, could just find her now. Another benefit of having the content out there on the web is it's always going to be possible that someone would just stumble on it. It's going to get indexed by Google. Somebody might do the right kind of search, it just pulls it up, and now suddenly you attracted somebody without doing anything at all. You literally didn't even try to attract this person. Some general tips for creating content, and this is more in depth if you grab the handouts that are over there. There's one that's like 6 suggestions for creating good content, something like that. I honestly didn't read them super thoroughly. I skimmed over them to make sure it made sense. It sounded good to me. Like, oh, that'll be helpful. For anybody who actually wants to go out and start kind of putting this stuff into application, go through these things, and you should get some helpful tips. The first thing I suggest, remember that your purpose is not to promote your business, but to provide useful, relevant content. Keep that in mind. What you're doing is trying to create something that somebody can actually get some benefit from. Not you, but the person that's going to read it will get some kind of benefit, or see it, or listen to it, whatever the case may be, whether it's a video, whether it's a blog post, a podcast, an infographic, if you're into making graphics. Infographic, if you don't know, is basically when you take a graphical representation of actual statistical information. A lot of times they'll put trend lines and bar graphs on there and be like 68% of these people purchased this certain thing for this reason. You make one big picture that encapsulates all these different statistics and facts about a certain thing. They call that an infographic. That's actually something that's really popular online, so it's really easy to share. It's a single image. It contains a lot of information, and people typically like to share that sort of thing if it's a topic they're interested in. I say don't try to appeal to a large audience. Don't make it your point to cast as wide a net as possible. Say, I want to make everybody like what I have to say. There's going to be a certain specific target audience for what you're doing. Stick to what you know. Be consistent about how you communicate. In fact, the more specific you are, and this goes back to when I was working for the software company, it was SCADA software we made, which is supervisory control and data acquisition. A very small, like, niche group. It's not the sort of thing that anybody on the internet would have any interest in. It's for controlling operating mechanized and automated sort of factories, or like wastewater treatment plants, industrial operations that you can have computers and robots controlling. It's the software that you program to make your robots do whatever you need them to do to assemble the product or clean the wastewater or whatever the case may be, manage the power grid. So it's a very small group of people that have any interest in this software. And because of that fact, though, when I put it out an article or put out a tweet about it, that small group of people were always super interested in it because they don't have a lot of people speaking to them and talking to them about what they want to know about. In that same kind of way, Emma with her dog grooming, rather than trying to appeal to all pet owners, maybe specifically try to appeal to people who just have dogs, who just want to have dogs that need to be groomed regularly and need to have their nails trimmed. Be as specific as you possibly can. It just makes you look more and more like you know what you're talking about. So you're more of an expert in a way. So try not to appeal to everybody, but stick to what you know and be an expert about it. Always share it under your brand name. This is a little bit counterintuitive since I've been saying it's not promotional. Just make sure it's always attached to your brand, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or on your website, on your blog. If it's on your website, it's automatically going to be attached to your brand because it's on your website. But don't share it under your personal account unless your personal account is your brand. But so that way, people that enjoy the content, they know where to come back and look for more. And then when they see your name again in the future, even if they don't consciously know that that's that person that wrote that article or made that video, unconsciously, they're going to be somewhat more pleasantly disposed to seeing the new content or to hearing what you have to say because of that positive experience they had in the past. Try to share different aspects of it or different perspectives on it rather than share the same post over and over again. That's if you are planning on promoting the same thing for a month, 2 months, rather than just putting up the same post on Twitter over and over again. Just try to put a different spin on it. Try to put it under or see it from a different perspective or look at a different aspect of what you're talking about. Otherwise, it's just going to be annoying to people, and then people will unfollow and unsubscribe if you just keep putting the same thing up over and over again. Repurpose your content. So after some time has passed, share links to your content again. This is one of the great, beautiful things about content marketing is it is evergreen. That content you make, as long as it's still relevant. I mean, there are situations where what you said 10 years ago is no longer relevant, and so you probably shouldn't try to repurpose it. But if it is, in most cases it is still going to be, you can reuse it and you want to share links to it again. You take older articles and papers and update and modify them to create new similar content where possible. If you want to take one of your old blog posts and put a new twist on it, a new spin on it, and basically say the same thing, but with your, the new wisdom that you've gained over the years of running your business or learning more about the situation or the topic, just put a new twist on it, create a new blog post. Now you've got new content that was a lot easier to create than the original one. Create derivative works. So write blogs about videos, make videos about ebooks, etc. So if you make one piece of content in a particular medium, if you make a video, also write a blog post about it. Embed the video with the blog post or reference the video in the blog post. If you made a blog post, make a video about it. If you have an ebook, write social media posts about that. Write articles about that. Take what you've already done and derive from it as much as you possibly can, as many different forms of content as you can. And they're typically going to appeal to different people. It's a different audience that's watching your video on YouTube that would be the people that are reading the article on your blog, for instance. So even though it's the same information, there's a different set of people you're going to be able to reach by sharing that same information in different formats. Content is cumulative. That's one of the great benefits. The content you create today will always be available. The more videos, podcasts, blogs, infographics you create, the greater the likelihood that new customers will discover your brand. The more stuff that you have out there that can be indexed by search engines, that can be found by people, the greater the likelihood that you're going to be found. Obviously, that's just basic 1 + 1 = 2. So the more you create, even if it's derivative works, even if you have 15 different videos, but really it's just one video that you made 15 different shorter videos out of, or one long video, and then 14 different shorter pieces of that one video, that's fine. As long as the more you have out there, the greater the likelihood that whatever search term, whatever query they're putting into YouTube or into Google is going to pull up your content as opposed to somebody else's. Some of the facts about why I think this is an important topic and why a lot of other people think it's an important topic. Content marketing costs 62% less than traditional marketing and generates about 3 times as many leads. Now this is, and it's taking into account people that actually pay for content. There are companies, and that's something that I do myself. People do have me write blog posts for them, and write newsletters and email campaigns for them. There are people that pay for you to create content. If you're going to do that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Typically, you're going to get good content because the people that are charging you money know what they're doing ordinarily. But when you are investing in content, even the people who do that, it's still 62% less costly and generates 3 times as many leads as traditional marketing, such as magazine ads, pay-per-click ads, billboards, TV ads, radio ads. Conversion rates are nearly 6 times higher for content marketing adopters than non-adopters. The comparison, and this is a conglomerate of a bunch of different statistics from a bunch of different industries. A 2.9% conversion rate, which would be for every 100 people that viewed that piece of content, that viewed that video or read that blog post, 2.9 of those people ended up becoming a lead, ended up coming to the site and filling out a form or calling you or whatever the case may be to become a potential customer, versus 0.5% for traditional marketing. When I say traditional marketing, non-adopters of content marketing are people that are doing TV ads, radio ads, pay-per-click ads online. None of those things are bad, by the way, but content marketing is just a different way of dealing with things where you're actually trying to get people to come to you rather than reaching out to them to steal their attention. 60% of marketers create at least one piece of content each day. I'm assuming that includes social media posts. Otherwise, I don't know what else these people would be doing with their time if they're writing articles and making videos every single day. I don't know what else they're doing. But social media posts count as content marketing, and I'm assuming that's part of it. 72% of marketers are producing significantly more content than they did a year ago. Now, the reason for that is because it works, because of what we saw previously. You keep track of this stuff, and if you're in marketing, that's a very important part of it, is tracking your return on the investment that you're making into it. And if you see that you're getting 6 times the conversion rate, if you see that you're spending less than half the money and getting 3 times as many leads every time you put something out there, you're going to do more of that. You're going to double down on what's working and what's more cost effective. And the fact is that 72% of people that were surveyed for this that are work in marketing are dedicating more of their time to content marketing and less of their time to traditional marketing, like TV ads and magazine ads and radio ads, because it really is more effective than traditional marketing.
Interesting.
Now, this is a little infographic actually that I found, kind of comparing traditional marketing to content marketing to kind of give you a high level sort of overview of the primary differences. Traditional marketing, it intrudes on people rather than attracting them. It kind of sticks itself in their face while they're trying to do something else. Basically, that would be things like billboards, TV ads, magazine ads, radio ads. The 3 fatal flaws listed here, it says only briefly holds attention, intrusive, talking at the client, and expensive if campaigns are not successful. And that's one of the values of content marketing as well, is if it's not successful, yeah, you lost some time, but you didn't put any money into it, you didn't spend any money, and it's all right. You can always try again. You're not gonna kind of hamstring yourself by taking your marketing budget that you had, you need it to work, now it's gone, you don't have any more marketing budget, and you're starting from scratch. If you're starting from scratch in content marketing, it's fine, all you lost is time. Because time is important, don't get me wrong. But time, you can, there's always gonna be more of that. There's always gonna be more money. Content marketing, by contrast, rather than intruding in somebody's effort to get valuable information, it actually is the valuable information itself. It becomes the content that people are trying to consume. So while somebody's reading an article and they come across an ad, it's better to be the article than to be the ad, basically. The person's going to feel much better about the article they're reading, the thing they were trying to go out of their way to read, rather than the thing you're sticking in their face in the middle of it. The advantage is it provides value and brand loyalty. Blogs and videos educate, build trust and relationship. Blog writing attracts clients searching for your service. Again, just this getting content out there on the web is just increasing the likelihood that people are going to find you when they go searching for something. If you wrote a blog article about a particular topic and they go search for that particular topic, you're much more likely to come up for it than if you hadn't created the blog article, obviously. Content can go viral and links with your website. On the offhand chance that you do create some piece of content that is just super interesting, super compelling, or super hilarious, and just really attracts people in a way that other things don't, and it does go viral, and you've got people now sharing that on Twitter or sharing it on Facebook. You shared it one time and suddenly you go look and you've got, 1 million views all of a sudden. That's huge, and that's an enormous, that changes, that's like transformative, that can completely change brands. An example, I read this book called Tipping Point years ago about that sort of viral effect. It was before the internet was even a thing, but it was the same kind of thing was happening. This brand of shoes called Hush Puppies, I don't know if everybody's ever heard of those. They were, I think it was back in the 80s, they were a really popular brand for a while, but they were kind of dying out and not doing very well. They were closing down factories and laying everybody off. And for whatever reason, some celebrity in Manhattan was spotted one day wearing Hush Puppies while she was out at a diner. Some local journalist wrote an article about how they saw this person wearing Hush Puppies at a restaurant, and suddenly Hush Puppies just exploded, and everybody wanted Hush Puppies. They had to open new factories and hire hundreds of thousands more people, and completely transformed this brand. They didn't mean to, it wasn't anything they did. They didn't market it in this way, although that would have been clever to go hire this woman to wear their shoes out, but they didn't even do that, as far as I know. According to the author of the book, they didn't do that. She just liked the shoes, she wore them, and it went viral in that same kind of way that things on the internet do now. And if you just happen to put something out that just strikes a chord with somebody in that way that they want to share it, and then all of their friends they shared it with want to share it, and it spider webs out into this huge, massive thing that's out of control, and now all of a sudden your brand has just exploded. And there's always a possibility, very remote as it may be, there is always that possibility when you're doing content marketing. And you're not going to get, ads don't go viral. Magazine ads don't go viral. TV ads don't go viral. Actual pieces of entertaining or interesting content can possibly, though. All right, I did hand out those two things. One is the state of content marketing in 2018. That is actually based, it's got a whole bunch of statistics, bunch of graphs, charts. It's actually based in the UK. It's very relevant, though. You're going to find very similar numbers here. I just thought it was cool information. It's pretty current. It's from May. It was just compiled in May. So it's definitely just to kind of see what content marketing is doing now, what marketing people who do this professionally, who work for Fortune 500 companies and spend their time and their resources trying to generate business and build a brand, what they think about content marketing and what they're dedicating to it, just to kind of give you an idea of how important people consider it to be nowadays. The other one is the 6 simple content marketing ideas, which is just if you're going to take this stuff home and try to apply it to what you do, just some suggestions that can maybe give you a little bit of inspiration or a little bit of education to make things work better for you. So during that time, I should have let everybody know if at any time you have any questions, please, stop me and ask the question before I steamroll right over everything and you forgot what the question was or what the topic was. But if there's anything at all that anybody has any questions that we went over that you need some clarification on, I'd be more than happy to take some time. If you have a specific business and you don't know what type of content you could create, maybe I could help you come up with some ideas. If you need some kind of inspiration, maybe I can help you with that. Otherwise, I don't really have anything else left in here except to say what I'm going to be talking about next month.
This is insightful. What are you talking about next month?
Next month, I'm going to be talking about, I put it in here, I'm sorry, I have to check actually. Simple video marketing. Use PowerPoint to make simple marketing videos without a budget. I'm trying to think of stuff that I would suggest to people that don't have a lot of money to invest in marketing and just trying to kind of get the ball rolling. I don't know if people are aware of how easy it is to make a video with PowerPoint, but it's actually pretty simple. You can actually export your slideshow as a video. And you can, if you want to add some audio, you can do that in PowerPoint, or you can take it, put it in Windows Movie Maker or some other free program and do narration over it, or put in some music or whatever the case may be. All for using free software. PowerPoint's not free software, but you can get a trial of it for free for 30 days at least. And a lot of people have it already, so I thought that would be a good thing, a useful thing for people. So we'll try to do that next month.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
How do you add music to a video? I watch all these YouTubers that are playing the music in the background and, I mean.
Well, you use software of some sort. I mean, you could do it with Windows Movie Maker, which is not really even, I think, included in Windows 10 anymore. It may be something you have to download. I think it's still free, but it's just free video editing software. I use Adobe Premiere. That's kind of expensive, but it's part of the creative suite. It comes with like Photoshop and Illustrator and all the stuff I use. And that's all a one-time or one fee to pay for all of that. So I have Adobe Premiere, and you can put still images, video, animations, audio files on multiple tracks for everything. So basically you're going to have, when you're doing it, you have like a sequence in like Windows Movie Maker, and you have a video track, and you can have an audio track. And you could put on that audio track, you could put your voice, you could put music. You could have both things. If you have two audio tracks, you could have your narration over it with some music in the background. It's all done with software. So with PowerPoint, you can add music to your actual slideshow as well, and that when you publish it as a video will come with it too. Go ahead.
And you could come to YouTube and put how to. Right.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. And there are tons of videos about making videos on YouTube, actually. That's something that I really try to recommend that people do, is get onto YouTube if at all possible, because it is owned by Google, and they're very fond of YouTube videos when you're searching for things on Google. And if there's a YouTube video that matches your search terms fairly well, it's going to outrank a lot of sites that just have textual information that are not owned by Google. Even though they may match a little bit more accurately, the YouTube videos are going to get preference. Because people like videos, I mean, for a very good reason. Videos are actually a useful way of consuming information, but also they're owned by Google, so they're going to promote that stuff as much as possible. I definitely recommend getting on YouTube if you can.
Thank you. That's very, very good.
Sure.
Just a quick follow-up, if you have still pictures, there's a free program called Animoto, and you can string together the 3 pictures, and then it's got a music library behind it, and you can choose the segue between pictures. And I think you can do like 30-second to 45-second videos for free. And then, longer than that, the only kicker is they reside on their site, and you've got to pay to be able to, plug them into your website or something like that. But if you just want to get started and practice and put them on your Facebook page or something like that, you can provide a link. And you can start with your logo or have a picture that's your contact information for a closer. You sequence them, and you can picture a music library and string it together.
And then Moto?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know too.
That's good.
I used that a few years ago, but then we wanted to do a little bit more and wanted to be able to put it where we wanted it without having to go through them. So we got away, but that was the way we started, just playing with it that way.
Yeah, it's a good thing to practice for sure. When you first start out, you're going to be making videos that are not nearly as good as they're going to be, a year later after you've had some practice. So anything you could use to get a little bit of practice putting things together, putting music with it, understanding how it all works when you're done, and seeing, the choices you made during the editing process, how they actually play out when you're viewing it. You're going to learn a lot just actually trying it. So definitely, if you can go to Animoto and do it for free just for practicing, probably a good idea.
And the other thing I'll toss out there, my kids do to look up something, they're 27, 30, not real young. They go to YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's what they use to learn how to do something. So, daughter's boyfriend, YouTube's how to fix the full filter, how to fix the air conditioner, and then looks up the parts and orders the parts, and he sits out there with his tools and the video playing on his iPhone.
That's exactly right.
Fixing the pool filter. That's their search engine. They don't use Google. They want to see the video of how to do it, and they use YouTube as their search engine.
Well, more often than not, when you use Google for those types of searches, YouTube videos are going to be the top results you get anyway. So you might as well just cut out the middleman, go straight to YouTube and look for the videos.
That puts a good dent into some of those people that try to charge outrageous prices.
Yeah.
I'm talking about doing things yourself, I know everybody's had their experience with outrageous auto repair prices. Et cetera, that goes down the wrong way. I wish I knew how to fix that problem, I just had to pay for it. But I wasn't ready to deal with that, I just,
Should have gone to YouTube.
I know, but I'm saying, the difference in price, I just didn't want to have, some things are just above your stress level.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, if you can behind my computer right now and get all those cords straightened out, stressful. I'll shut up.
If anybody wants to look into it further, I did. This video is going to be online, and Jim's going to send a link to everybody. You can go look at the recording. Right now, it's still on the presentation. What you're actually seeing is this presentation is the actual video with us discussing things over the top of it. So if you want to see any of these slides again, all that stuff is going to be on there. You'll all get a link to it. I do recommend, if you want to research this further, the concept of content marketing or inbound marketing in general. HubSpot is really, they literally invented the term inbound marketing. I used them for a while as a marketing platform. It's probably going to be too pricey for anybody unless you just happen to be like a really successful company already. And then, in which case, I don't know why you're here. But if you're like super successful, independently wealthy, then yeah, you could probably use HubSpot. It's a cool marketing platform. Otherwise, though, just look at their content, look at their blog, the stuff that they made to try to attract people to their site. They have a lot of good information. They really understand it. And it's all data-based. It's based on actual real research that their clients, the numbers they've gotten from their millions and millions of customers that they have interacted with their marketing platform. They have real numbers on what works and what doesn't work, and they write about all that stuff. You can get some good ideas from them for sure.
Are your last 3 workshops that you did, are they posted online too?
They are, 2 of them are. The first one I didn't do right. We didn't have the meeting owl at the time. I was trying to do it on my phone and it kept falling down and it didn't record my voice very well. And plus the picture was of the ceiling half the time. So, but since we got the meeting owl, I think those 3 are all up there.
Okay.
So when you get that link, actually, you'll be watching it on Jim Green's channel. So if you just go to Jim Green's YouTube channel, you'll see all the videos that we've done so far.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Even though that video may not be available, wouldn't your sheets that you handed out on it, it's very explanatory.
Yeah, that first one was actually just about like optimizing your website, your existing website for search engines, which is kind of like the fundamental elementary bedrock under which all of this rests, and really probably should have that background. I do have the PowerPoint presentation was emailed out. Anybody, I can have that sent to everybody too, if you'd all be interested in seeing the original search engine optimization presentation. It's just the actual PowerPoint. I'll have Jim send that as well to everybody on this list. Yeah, it's kind of, I didn't know how to approach this workshop thing when we first started. So that's going to be the most important thing to kind of get everything started. Do what you can on your existing website to make sure that it's optimized for search engines. So you're doing the best you can right now with what you already have. And then from there, here's some other stuff to work on. But I can't just keep talking about the same thing every month. I have to kind of like move on to other topics. But it's probably not a bad idea to like recap that sort of thing every once in a while too, I guess. Because there are always new people too.
I registered, I just wasn't able to get here. I know you had some good topics, so thank you very, very much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for coming. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and, what's that?
Is that everything?
That's everything I have for you. Yeah. I mean, if you guys have any like specific questions about like your situation and like any, I mean, try to dig down deep stuff I would charge people money for, and now's the opportunity to approach me.
Thank you so much.
Sure, no problem.
See you next month.
No. So what's your day job, the day company then?